Hello and welcome to Meet Your Inspiration podcast with Mary and Rich. Here we're talking about inspiration, motivation, and empowerment. Our guests are ordinary people who became extraordinary, and we're sharing their stories who want to empower you to become the person you want to be and to go beyond your dreams.
Today's special guest is Zoe Cairns. Zoe is an incredible social media expert. Anything you need to know about social media to do with LinkedIn, to do with Instagram, Facebook, and loads of other platforms, she is one of the leading experts in the country, and we're really happy to have her with us today. Welcome, Zoe.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. I will start with one thing that really touched me, so inspiring, so I can't miss that. Can you tell me how a lady from Medway end up being a keynote speaker at NATO's social media forum?
Oh, wow.
How this works?
Well, it was all through LinkedIn, funny enough. So I'd done loads of speaking locally, and there's some people around Kent that I'll pick out Carol Black. I remember her saying to me once, "You've spoken so much around Kent. You've saturated the place. We need to get other speakers in." And I respected her for saying that because I'd spoken everywhere. And I thought I need to start looking outside of Kent to get more speaking events. So I decided that on my LinkedIn profile, I'd put that I was a speaker, which I was because I had some really great history locally. And I put on there, obviously, social media speaker. And I had this guy called Moritz from Brussels reach out to me. And he said, "Zoe, I would like you to come to Poland, to Warsaw, to speak at a conference." And I thought, wow, okay, this sounds amazing. And he said, bring a team member, we've got your overnight stay, they paid for my flights, speaker fee, what have you. And I thought, wow, this was my first international talk. I'd never done this before. And I told Gareth and I told my mum, because I was super excited. My mum is, she's always quite sceptical about stuff. She worried, she's a worrier. And she said to me, "Zoe," she goes, "I've seen this movie at the weekend and it's called The Interpreter with Julia Roberts, and she gets kidnapped when she goes internationally." I said, "Mum, honestly, I've checked this guy's profile out. He really does look genuine." So Ritz was flying me out to Poland to speak to at this conference called the Direct Selling Association. I don't know if you've heard of them. They look after, I don't know if you remember, Amway and Clean Easy and all of the big network marketing companies. Direct Selling Association looks after. So I was going to go and be speaking at that conference. And when I said to him, "Who are the audience?" he said, "European Parliament and Government, and also the key bodies within the Direct Selling Association." So I thought, amazing. So I was on a panel with BBC and Avon, which was amazing. I was like, wow, this is going to be amazing. So I went, I'd done the talk, I got some really great feedback. And from that, Frankie found me. He was following my journey. And Frankie is the contact I have at NATO. He's since moved on now, and he's doing amazing stuff. But Frankie contacted me and said, "I've got a couple of things I'd love you to do. And one of them is to come out to Montenegro to speak at a NATO conference." And I was like, yes.
Like you do.
I would love to do this. Because I've always loved military stuff. Not that I've got anyone probably in my history of anyone being in the army or anything, apart from my granddad was in the Navy, but I haven't got anyone that's been in military. But I was like, well, I really want to do this. So I went out to do a conference out in Montenegro. I went via Serbia into Montenegro, which is on a propeller plane when we got to Serbia to Montenegro. That was an experience in itself. And the person
sounds like a proper adventure.
I really wish I was vlogging when I went this. This is the one thing that I could kick myself about, is that I wasn't vlogging.
Wow.
The amount of countries I've been spoken at. And the experiences me and Gareth have had is just amazing. So I went and done that, and then at the NATO conference, I met a lady that looked after NATO's school, which is where they train all the soldiers, whether they're on the battlefield, whether it's about different equipment, whether it's about different techniques. And they wanted me to show them, train them on how to use their mobiles on the battlefield. So a lot of them had their geolocation switched on, all of that type of stuff. So I went to NATO school as well in Lille.
Wow.
And I went on the Eurostar, but the first and only time I've been on the Eurostar, and they carted me out onto the Eurostar, and I met them at the other end. I got off the train. There was this blacked out Mercedes van waiting for me, and people all in their military gear. Took my phone and my passport off me, so I didn't know where I was going.
So you really were being kidnapped this time. Mum, I'm being kidnapped.
But you know what? When I got there, I heard soldiers from 5 different nations. So I had an interpreter that was then, as I was doing my presentation, there was like people had different languages translating what I was saying. That was the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
That's amazing.
And
Really.
Frankie, since then, I've built that relationship up with. And most recently, when I went to write my book about 2 years ago, I said to Frankie, I'd love that in my book because it's one of my most rewarding projects that I've done. And he said, I'd love that. And when I wrote the book, he went, do you want to come and bring a copy over? And so I've got a video, I'm sure it's on my Facebook page, where I showed a trip me and Gareth went over to Brussels last November. And we went to see Frankie at NATO in Brussels, a new building, because we'd been to the older one. And I presented my book to him. And it was
Honestly.
Yeah.
How
So
amazing is
about
that?
that, but it's
No, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
That's a real good story.
This is perfect behind the book, behind the...
Yeah, exactly.
What is...
Here is the book, the amazing book. Well, thank you, Zoe. For
And
sharing
where
that.
people can find the book?
And you can get it on Amazon, Kindle.
It's just-
definitely on Amazon. Yeah.
Quickly, probably we need to say how we met you, because
Yeah.
this is as well very interesting. Obviously, since we start this podcast, we start to attend lots of networkings and events. I really don't even remember how it come up, your event, to me. I don't remember, honestly.
I think it might have come up on LinkedIn. I think
But
it come up on LinkedIn.
definitely someone was recommended as well your event, and this is something that I want to bring attention to everybody in Kent, Medway. Zoe's it's an annual event. It's usually in September, October time.
In October.
October, and it's one of the most valuable things happened to us in Bean. It was all day. We've met fantastic
Life as
people.
well.
Yeah,
ZC
Life.
That's it, yeah.
We've met amazing people. We learn a lot. And you've got that magic. Obviously, I don't know, probably because you are absolutely professional speaker, but you've got that magic, how you really nicely, with really good tone, you talk to the people, but everything you give to the people is so much valuable that there is no, even one person could leave the building without so much knowledge. And we've been really, really impressed by everything happened there, which obviously led to, thanks to Zoe's event, we end up being in the radio with Paul Andrews because we met him there. Now you are here. We became part of your Academy, and we're looking forward to learn more and more. And I can say, everybody, that Zoe is sharing lots of information. I'm not using Facebook that much, but definitely on Instagram I've seen you posting a lot, LinkedIn, on YouTube as well. So for everyone that are interested in social media, crazy world that is changing so quickly, she is the one. And I'm finding it very useful how you do so. This is how little meetings sometimes end up to...
brings us to this point.
So once again, thank you for finding time in your schedule, and from meeting people in NATO, now you're going to meet us. Tell us how your journey started. What's happened with Zoe back in the time?
Yeah, before you were the social media queen, how did you get to that point?
I always wanted to be. Have you ever seen Ugly Betty?
Yes.
I always wanted to be. I always say I want to be an Ugly Betty in the city, doing programming or coding or something like that. Like behind the scenes, I had no confidence whatsoever. I like to stand up and speak in front of a crowd. The thought of it was just daunting. And at school, I'd be the girl with my head in a book. Please do not pick on me, because I was always worried about pronouncing a word wrong or being a whole laughing stock. And when I got to sixth form, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd done computer science and I learned a bit of business. So I thought, you know what, I'll go to university and just see if anything sort of like comes out of that. And I ended up going down to Canterbury Christchurch.
Mm-hmm.
And down there, I done business information management, which was like the whole networking of computers and coding and programming mixed with business. I still didn't really know what I wanted to do after that. At the time when I was at university, I had 3 jobs. I helped my granddad. He had an MOT business, so I'd be helping him getting greasy in overalls and helping him with that. And I used to then be a barmaid in a local pub in Gillingham. And I'm proud of where I'm from because that's what's made me who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was I worked in a local chemist, which is where my mum worked for over 40 years. So I had 3 jobs on the go to earn money for when I wanted to, whatever I wanted to do at the weekend. And when I come out of university, my mum said, "You've really got to get a job. Like, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I really want to be a programmer up in the city." But because I only got a 2-1, I hadn't got a first class degree. So the .com boom was happening back then. This was around 2003, 2004. And the .com boom was really happening then. And trying to get a place in a company to do that type of thing was so saturated. It's a bit like how the social media world is right now. And so I just ended up, working in the chemist. They sent me to do these Sage 100, courses. And I met this lady called Jenny Jones. You might have heard of her. She's based in Gravesend, and she runs the Confidence Queen.
Oh, really? Wow.
And she does a bit of singing. She builds confidence. It was really strange at the time. She goes, "I've got a little mortgage brokers in Gravesend that need someone to help them with their accounts." And I've just done all my accounts. Thought, brilliant, that's great. That's what I ended up doing. And then, but I was always really ambitious. So I thought, I don't want to, not being horrible, but see here just doing an admin job because I loved it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I was so ambitious. I just wanted to work myself on way up in a company. And they said, "Well, why don't you be an IFA mortgage broker?" So I'd done all my exams within a year. And then I was qualified to then go and do that. And I loved the mortgage world. But then the recession hit. And back then, I started to get into something called internet marketing, they called it, not social media. So there was the likes of like Mark Anastasi and all of those big guys in internet marketing that I started to follow. And I thought, "Do you know what? This is what I really want to do." It took me back to why I wanted to do
programming. Yeah.
So I remember meeting my dad for lunch one day, and he said, "You're not happy, are you?" And I said, "I'm really not happy." And he was like, "You can't, life's too short. You've got to, be happy and do what you want to do." And he said, "What's the worst that can happen?" I'm thinking my mum had heard him say it. She would have killed him. But I said, "Yeah, you're right." So basically I went back to where I was at the time working, and I just said, "Look, I'm thinking of leaving in 6 months' time." And my bosses at the time, and Doug won't mind me mentioning his name, said, "You know what? Go now." Gave me a box. I left on the Friday. I did go back into them and say, "You sure you won't change your mind about me coming back?" And they said no. And I was then out in the world all on my own.
Well,
and I've met back up with Neil, one of the business partners at the company I used to work with. I only met him a couple of years ago just because he wanted to catch up with us to what I've done. And he goes, I said, "One of the best things I did was, go in and because of what's happened, not because, that I left a company that I didn't like, because it weren't about that. It was about what I really wanted to achieve." And he said, I knew it was the right time for you to go and spread your wings. And that's the great thing. It was just
sometimes you just got to follow your dream, haven't you? Yeah, because like you can so often spend time thinking and just plodding.
Yeah.
Because that's what you end up doing. You end up plodding. And you just, but then once you've got your passion into something, it just makes all the difference, doesn't it?
My passion was, the internet marketing, online stuff. That's where my passion really died.
And did you have that moment of fear? Or obviously, most probably the day you pack your box, you were happy. But the next day when you wake up and you have to start everything from, because you didn't have anything, isn't it?
What happened is I went home with the box. And Gareth was working at Swell Heating at the time, single local company. And he come home and he went, "Are you all right?" And I went, "Yeah." I went, I've not got a job anymore." And he was like, "What? Like, what's happened? How are we going to pay the bills?" And all of this type of stuff. And I said to him, we will work it out. On the Monday, it's when it hit me. Because obviously I had the weekend, as you normally do at the weekends. On the Monday when I got up, I was like, I've got no routine anymore. Like,
I've got nowhere to go. What am I doing?
What am I going to do? And it was then that I cried. It was like, what on earth am I going to do? And it was then that the adrenaline kicked in. I was like, right, I now need to look forward. There's no point me dwelling over this because it's not going to get me anywhere. It was like, right, what do I really want to do? Where do I start? And that's when I started to really network, get myself out there, all of my contacts. So they say, when you need help, ask.
Exactly.
Because people in your network, they're just so invaluable, and people will help you because they'll know when you help them, you're more than likely to help them back. So literally I just got out all of my contacts and my resources, and I reached out.
But did you carry on in the same like in mortgages?
Yes.
Or you changed it then to social media?
So because I hadn't planned on going at that time, I was hoping I could have at least 6 months to really build up my commission pot at the time. So then I was in a good position when I left. I literally went and at a time where I thought I didn't have that stability there. So what I did is I had a contact. Well, I still have a contact. She's a really good friend, and now she's amazing in what she does. She still does mortgages, but at the time I had this lady down in Bournemouth called Sarah Irons, and I'll tag her into this because she was an important part of my transitioning of what I did. But she said, like, Zoe, pass me over your clients. Send over the clients, and I can still work. I can look after the clients, and then she would then give me like an introducer fee based on that client, until I then become authorised by a local network, so I could then continue to do the mortgages until I could transition fully into my social media business. But what happened? I would say I'd done that for about 6 to 9 months. And then eventually I'd done so much networking, started to build up my profile. Because this is the other thing, right, that people say. I say to people, I went from on the Friday being a mortgage broker to the Monday being a social media person, trying to get that across to people. They're like, well, you've only been a social media person for a day. Trying to get that across.
Exactly.
It's a real challenge. Just trying to build your, a brand and a personal brand, the reputation from scratch was a challenge, but it was my network and the amazing people around me that really helped me push it forward.
And you, in the conversation before we start, you mentioned something that I think I do believe in. It's sometimes once you start to walk, isn't it? The doors start to open. You said you didn't expect some of the opportunities, but they just show up.
Yeah. So what happened? What I felt happened, and it's become more apparent as I've gone through in business. Even like when you have a project comes to an end, when that door shuts, another one will open. The power of I love the power of the universe and manifestation. But what happened is I felt that when I did come out of having that role, the amount of doors that did open, because when I was in my past role as a mortgage broker and I started to use the social media to get clients, what happened is people started to say, how are you doing that? So I started to get people recognise what I was doing, which was powerful at the time. But I felt until I closed that door of doing mortgages, I couldn't fully put myself into the new business and really commit. And so for some people, it can be really challenging to see, you've got this ambition of what you really want to do, but you feel really held back in something that you're currently doing because you can't see how it's going to work past that current situation. Does that make sense? So it's about really thinking about, right, what do I want to achieve? How is that possible? But looking at all of your current resources and connections about how they could potentially help you to get there.
The amazing thing is when we look back, so at that point, today there are so many social media platforms and it's growing all the time. But then
Yeah.
What, Facebook?
We had Facebook and we had Twitter.
Twitter, yeah, okay.
And then there was a little, MySpace had already shut and Bebo had gone.
Yeah.
But we had Academy, and if you remember Academy,
No.
Academy was owned by the amazing Thomas and Penny Power, and then LinkedIn obviously come in. But yeah, at the time we had Facebook and Twitter, completely different to what they are now. But yeah, I mean, we had this amazing tool. I wish it was still about, by a guy called Mike Konings. You might have heard of him. He's from the States, and I remember doing a course with him, and it was called Traffic Geyser.
Okay.
And what it done is it took a video and it would send it out to all the different platforms at one time, and it would like optimize it and stuff like that. And it was just, there were some amazing platforms around, and they've changed a lot now. But yeah, I mean, yeah, social media's changed. There's so many other people in the industry as well, which makes it more challenging when you're growing your personal brand to stand out.
How did you obviously end up and choose that it's going to be social media, your thing?
Well,
Was it just led by what you knew, let's say, already on Facebook, these groups that you were helping?
Yeah.
Was this the reason that you led?
That's a really good question, because I went to the internet marketing world, and you'll probably, if you go back on YouTube and you type in Zoe Cairns, you'll see one of my first ever videos. My eyebrows look terrible. Right, so I've left them there to show people how far how you can develop. You keep, if you're consistent with something, you will improve. And then we're going to internet marketing world. It's got to be the year of like 2005, 2006. And I remember going, and they had like affiliate marketing, internet marketing, all of these different areas of marketing. But social media stuck out to me because it was about engaging with people, having conversations, building rapport, and it was just like networking, and I loved it. By that time, I loved it. I think if I wanted to do more programming, I would have gone down more of the website route. And I can build websites, so that's what I trained to do, programming and stuff like that. But I just loved social media because initially, for my role at the time as a mortgage broker, that's what really helped me get in front of more people and attract more clients.
Wow, it's amazing.
Maybe here it's a good point to make a break talking about networking. And to say thank you to our sponsors.
Escape to luxury at Hempstead House Hotel and Spa, an elegant country house hotel in Bapchild, near Sittingbourne, Kent. Relax with indulgent spa treatments. Dine in style with exquisite cuisine. Perfect for getaways, weddings and events. Experience luxury in the heart of Kent. Book your stay today.
Be the first to discover Kent's best events all in one free app. What's On in Kent is a new and rapidly growing app where you can find days out information, places to eat, festivals, concerts, markets, and much more around you. Just with few clicks on your phone or computer, you can stay updated with real-time info and explore events across Kent. Don't even think twice. Just download. It's free. Did you go through any trainings back in the time, or it was basically your experiences, what you were learning on the go? How it was?
Really good question. I've never had any social media training, as in terms of qualifications. So I've always been someone that says, right, test, learn, tweak as we go through, because the amount of different clients we've worked with and different industries we've worked with over the years, it's all down to trial and test and learn from it. So I've never done any qualifications like you have with the Institute of Direct Marketing and those types of exams that you can do. I have done a lot of Facebook exams, but mainly my experience is down to, or my knowledge is down to experience, trial and testing it, and just actively doing it every day.
The difficulty is, I suppose, today, particularly, everything changes all the time. The algorithms are changing.
All the time.
And and no one, if it was Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, they don't sort of say, oh, by the way, everyone, today we've just changed everything. And now if you do this and this and this, it's going to work better for you. They just change it.
They change it all the time, and you don't notify you. One of the great things I'll mention about Neil at my job when I was, he was the director at the company I worked with as a mortgage broker, And he used to get me every week to do something called a CPD, which is a continuous professional development. As a mortgage broker, we had to do that in order to maintain our status. And so when I left being a mortgage broker, I decided to keep the same log, like sheet log. And I'd done that for a good few years, of where every week, and I still do it to this day, it's a habit. Monday, jump online, see what's trending, what's changed. And I've got certain publications. So I've got a tool called Feedly. I don't know if you've heard of Feedly before. I'll send you the link so you can, it's a free tool, but you make your own newspaper.
Okay.
But I'm one of these people that I'll read a newspaper and end up in tears anyway with the stuff that goes on in there.
That's terrible.
But Feedly is, you create your own newspaper with all of your current publications that you want to read. So I would say put in there, give me the latest news of Facebook Newsroom, give me the latest news from social media today. So what it does is I open Feedly on my phone, the app, and it gives me all of the latest news. So every Monday I'll go in and I say, right, what's current, what's new, what's changed, what are people having there, what's going on in the forums. And I constantly am keeping myself up to date with what's going on in the social media world, because it changes daily.
Yeah.
We can see you constantly got, and this is a video for the new changes, and until we get used with one thing and it's up, another one is coming, and it's just crazy. How did you see all this world changing? Obviously, I think that is, I remember my first Facebook, I did it in, I don't know, was it 97 or I think it was like, no, 2007 probably, or something like that. And there were some Americans, and my friend was working in a hostel, and they were there. And they were talking about Facebook. Probably it's in 2000 when it comes Facebook.
2006, 2005, 2006.
So probably it's then it is 2007. And I find it very weird. And obviously I was coming and going in UK and going back in Bulgaria. And I found it really cool to keep in touch with friends. And because I've got friends went to study in different parts of the world, and it was absolutely great way. And I remember there were some stupid games and things that you do. It was poke or whatever you're gonna. And it was really, I don't know, I find it really entertaining, cool thing that was there. Nowadays it's so changed.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah,
and it's, I don't know, are they losing what was the initial idea of the social medias, and they're changing much more in you will say a bit.
It's so much more about marketing, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing of it. I mean, Facebook is literally just full of adverts, and it's one of the things I think a lot of people find frustrating now about Facebook, because it used to be like sharing things, like, as you said, with friends and families, and you'd be sharing.
Because different social platform had different idea. Like I would say Instagram, I wouldn't share all my personal things or whatever. Instagram, I'm using it a bit more
photos,
photos and things that I like, people I like, you follow, and I like that you can contact them. It's quite easy, but somehow they're very changed, and for anyone, doesn't matter if it's a business or just personal brand, it is getting much more difficult to.
It's about really standing out. And I mean, when Facebook first started, it was for freshers at university to meet each other. That's why Mark Zuckerberg created it. It was for colleges, and then eventually people started to see how you could, have your own groups, and because that's what he did. He had groups per freshers groups and all that type of stuff, and that's how it first came about. But then people started to do it to keep in touch. And you had that era of a lot of people going travelling. They would use it to be in contact with their families. And Twitter was very much a publication website in terms of, if there was a bit of news about an article, the journalist would be broadcast. It was a broadcast channel. So it definitely has changed. And the reason why it's changed over the years is it is more conversational. It's easy accessible to get news and information. And obviously, Facebook have had the issue over the years in terms of, freedom of speech and news, and is it fake news and all that type of stuff. But I do believe that the platforms, now there's a lot of regulations and policies coming in place that they do need to start thinking about, making sure they understand where the source of that knowledge is coming from. But social media's changed in terms of that it's no longer a broadcasting tool. it's got to be for a two-way communication and not a one-way. And the only way that you're going to grow on there is if you want to grow a community. It doesn't matter if it's 100 people, 10,000 people, or 1 million people. You need to make sure that you're showing the platform that you're making your audience feel part of a community, because ultimately that's what social media is all about.
But what about the time that you have to spend? Because this is something that I can see for each platform everywhere. They're saying, oh, the platform wants you to spend a lot of time there.
On the platform, yeah.
So obviously some people got some other work to do as well. So you can't spend all your time in the platform. How you can, I mean, you go, you share what you've got to share. How can you benefit both ways, obviously, and the platform and you as a person who is sharing, without spending 5 hours today in one of the platforms?
So when I speak with people and they're spending, say, 5 hours a day, they've probably not planned out what they're going to post on the platform, like for the next month or 90 days. So they could reduce the time in making sure that they're mapped out, their time in terms of creating content for the platform. So we save time in knowing that, if you spent a day creating your content for the next month, then you've not then spending like half an hour to an hour each day thinking about what you're going to post. And in that time, that 20 minutes each day, every other day, can be going in and actually engaging with your audience. So you've got two types of people. You've got a broadcaster or you've got an engager. A broadcaster would be someone that uses scheduling tool and they just broadcast out their messages, and the platform frowns upon that because it's like social media is about really making people feel part of the community. It's social. So they want people to go into the platform, spend longer in the platform, engaging with each other, so then potentially they see their ads that are being pushed out and they're making money from, but keeping people longer in there to have conversations, to build rapport, and to build their communities bigger. So broadcasters are people that just broadcast those messages, but engagers are the one that spend that time to go in and make their audience feel part of a community. Now, I describe this just like I would a networking event. You might have someone that turns up to a network. You've probably met this type of person. They're called a hunter. They come to a networking event, they'll stand up, do their 60 seconds, give their leaflets out, and they'll go. And they don't build rapport. They've left their leaflet, and all they've wanted to do is sell.
And the percentage that you're going to go and speak to that person is minimal.
You would say, for example, you had two people that were printers. The first one is a hunter. He comes along, gives all his leaflets out and goes. Doesn't build rapport with people. You've got another printer there that comes along, does his 60 seconds, gets to know you in the room, builds rapport, turns up. You get to know them over a certain period of time. Which printer are you going to choose?
Always one you're going to work with, because it's about the person, the person-to-person relationship.
Yeah, and so spending that time, I always say to people, when they say to me, I haven't got enough time to go and engage, I can't be on there all the time, I will say to them, how often do you network? And could you do, I know this sounds mad, but can you do one less networking event a month and spend that on engaging with your audience? Because ultimately, you're going to go to that networking event, you're going to connect with those people on social media afterwards. That's going to accelerate that relationship with those people you met at a networking event before you see them again. Because if you just go networking and don't connect with them online, you're going to have to wait a whole another month
before you see them again.
You see them again.
But do you think then that obviously to schedule your content is one of the main probably things that, as you said, with 1 or 2 days focusing on scheduling, that will sort out your problem? But do you think like half an hour to 1 hour is enough per day?
You could even do it every other day. You wouldn't even have to do it every day.
Okay.
You could do it every other day. As long as you're going in there within 24 hours of someone putting a comment on there. You want to try and keep that warm. So there's three different types of content that you might do, and you've got your engagement. So generic content is stuff you can schedule that won't change. So say it might be an event you've got coming up. Your podcast you can definitely schedule. It wouldn't necessarily be about posting about the weather on Thursday. Because you never know what it's going to be like. So you've got generic content that you can go and schedule, and something's going out every day and you haven't got to worry about it. You've also got reactive content, which is so today I hope to get a selfie with you both and put it out on LinkedIn. And I'm going to post it out today to say I've had an amazing day.
Yeah.
I've been with Mary and Rich. It's been so amazing. Blah blah blah. And that's going to go back to that's the content that does really really well, right? The generic stuff does good, but the reactive stuff does really well. And then and I haven't got to worry. Even though if I didn't post that today, I know I've still got something scheduled that's going to go out today anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm not putting pressure on myself, and I'm not spending hours sitting there thinking, what am I going to post? I've mapped out the next 90 days to say, right, I've got this going on that day that I could do a reactive post. I've got this happening there. So you actually map out and take opportunity of all the amazing opportunities that you've got.
Yeah, because opportunities sometimes happen, and this is what sometimes I like. Either it's before we start the podcast, or it's something after that, or we've been on an event. But sometimes I'm like, I can't now. I leave the event and straight away to do it. No, I take photos or whatever footage, but it may take a few hours until I do it because that pressure, I really don't like it. And when you do something under pressure, it doesn't.
But often you'll do it like before we start on a morning.
Yeah, I don't touch it too much. It's just absolutely, authentic.
I get moments where I've been at the computer all day, and I think I've done a reactive thing today, and I'll sit there and I feel like tired. Right? I now got to go back on my phone and post this reactive post. Right? It is tiring. But, I mean, I'm lucky I've got a team that can help me do it. But for people that are maybe already in a full-time role, that have something on the side, their side hustle that they're doing, and they're trying to do that as well, that could be really exhausting. So it is mapping it out and being prepared and not worrying that at least you know you've got something going out today if you don't get that reactive post out there.
Yeah.
How you built your team then? How ZC marketing start?
So when I first started, I was with business ZC social media. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done that. People know ZC social media now for ZC social media, but ultimately it's got my name in it. So everyone will, when people come on board, they'll ask for me, and you know, so I've built the team up. So we took on our first apprentice, Beth, who
you talk about you and
so I started business in 2010, so it was 15 years this year, and then Gareth come into the business in 2013.
After his reaction, what have you done today? How are we gonna pay the bills? I love that.
For him to leave as well. You know, he was like oohing and ahhing about the
just briefly, did he ever done anything with media, social media, internet?
Gareth's always been a gamer.
Okay.
Great at editing and stuff. I'm not saying all gamers know editing, but he's great at editing. He's great at video. He's great at photos and stuff like that for what we do.
It was perfect. Yeah.
So when I got inundated with stuff, I said to him, "You're going to have to leave your job. Like, what am I going to do?" And he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah. I mean, I think that this could be a great opportunity for us to both work in the business together, and then we've got freedom of, you know, not worrying about when would you take a holiday or not and all that." Well, the minute Gareth left his job, we thought that 2 contracts that we had were going to renew, but they didn't get the funding that they really needed in order to carry on.
Right.
So literally the contract stopped. So you know when the universe sends you 3 things to say, should have done that, should have done that, should have done that. That's what happened. So we were like, what have we done? Like, what have we done? But we persevered with it. It was one of the most challenging times. It almost felt like we took 10 steps back. So I was like, what on earth have we done? You've left your job. But it was great because we said, no, this is an opportunity for us to really give this company a real push. And that's what we did. And then within 9 months, we took on our first apprentice. We took on our second apprentice. And over the years with them built, we do have a freelancer model now. So we take people on at different projects that we take on. And the agency's working amazing. We've got a great chief of staff. We call her a chief of staff, Sarah Stacey, who's amazing in our business. She's got her own business as well, but she's just brilliant. She helps us with all the running of the business, and just
Perfect.
brilliant. Yeah.
So from that, so obviously, so you've got a lot of clients that you help on a daily basis
Yes.
with their social media,
Yeah.
how to deal with the social media. So if a business comes to you and says, Zoe, we really need to improve our social media. Our marketing team are struggling. What can we do? So you basically get inside the business and sort of see what they do.
Yeah.
And then from that, you give them ideas, or do you actually run their social media platform?
There's two sides of the business. So you've got the social media management, which is the agency. So what we would do is a company would come to us, and we've had some amazing brands that we've worked with that we can shout about. One of them being Anne Summers, which was just a brilliant client that we had on board. And Hayley, that I worked with at the time on that, I met for a speaking event, which was great. So a client would come to us and they'd say, right, we want an audit. So we'd audit their current social, and then we'd then put together a new strategy, which is the bit that I absolutely love, is putting that strategic plan together. And then our team would then manage that daily activity. So they would create the content, they'd manage the engagement, which some people obviously don't like to do.
Yeah.
And then we would do all of the analytical stuff at the end of the month. So that's the agency side of us looking after clients. And what's great about that is where we're working with different industries and different types of clients, and we're seeing what the trends are, what's working, what's not working, which is great.
Yeah, no, accelerates the
And
training
how you
information.
see other companies reaching to you more and more, how you see the market.
I think that we've obviously got clients who want to come and manage it, but what we try and do is ultimately say, like, eventually it'd be great you taking this in-house, because then they've got people inside the business that are on the ground at the time capturing in the moment stuff, because more and more with social now, it's more about that behind the scenes type of content. And we can do that. We go into businesses and do like content gathering sessions where
but you can't be there all the time and every day.
Because you've got a plan to be there then, haven't you? Yeah.
And one thing we do with our clients is we have a WhatsApp communication or a Slack communication with them, which is where if they have something that's happened on that day, they take a picture, put it in the WhatsApp, and we get it out on that day, that reactive content.
Wow.
So we're reactively posting it for them as well.
Wow, that's
capturing
good.
that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that side of it. I'm glad we got a team. But I remember when I first started out, I was managing a lot on my own, which is why I got Gareth to come in and help me. Starting from somewhere, but yeah, it's great.
How you start the events, because I like when I like this story. Lots of people heard, but probably lots of our audience wouldn't know. And it's a great example again to show that not everything is fantastic and diamonds on day one.
Yeah.
Behind the success, there is lots of hard work, but it is happening. So if you don't mind to share, that was great.
For me, I've always been someone that I've been in front of the camera, or no, not because of ego and stuff like that, but I just find I can communicate easily like that, rather than writing, because I've always had this holdback. I mean, I'm lucky I had someone help me write my book, but I've always had this worry about the way that I write things. I'm lucky we've got Grammarly and stuff like that. But being in front of the camera and doing events was something that I really always loved to do. So I thought, why don't I run free events where I get people in front of us and I can share some really great knowledge, and then potentially they'll go away and one day they might want to work with us. So my first event I was going to set up, and Gareth said, "Are you sure about this?" And I was like, yeah, I think it's going to be really well and work really well. So I'd hired a solicitor's in Gravesend. I'd hired their it has like a mini conference room. I'd say about 20 people could fit in there. And I ordered all this food because I thought, I'll put food on. Well, it was quite extravagant, really. I thought, why on earth did I do food and all of that type of stuff for a free event? Anyway, so we'd all got all ready. I'd done my presentation. Me and Gareth had got there early, and we looked at the time and I was like, right, people should be arriving now. And he was like, yeah. Anyway, another 15 minutes went past and no one turned up.
Oh, no.
And we had over 20 people book on and no one turned up. And I was like, this is like really weird and disappointing at the same time. And Gareth went, don't worry. Right. He went, don't worry, stand up there, put your PowerPoint on, and we'll just take some photos of you presenting. It's absolutely fine. So afterwards, I put a slide out saying, great event. me and Gareth. I didn't say it was just me and Gareth, but great event. We've put the next one and we hope to see you there. And the next one we done at the Innovation Centre in Chatham, just off Maidstone Road. And we had about 23 people at that one, which was great, including me and Gareth. Which was great.
Yeah.
So that was our first event. And then a year later, you might see it on my ZC social media page, we were at Gillingham Priestfields Football Club. And we had 150 people at the first birthday of our academy.
Wow.
So we were literally, what happened is when
So it was not full then?
Yeah, it was full. And it was just great.
I'm not going to be surprised because, as I said, and I will say again, the value of that you're giving to the people it's great. It's a lot. You. And people are learning. It's not and just also, to go somewhere.
No.
But also the quality of the people who attend are presenting as well, because obviously across social media, obviously we talk about the different platforms, but there's also the software and the stuff that's going on around it, the background that we can use as creators. Yeah. And you can put that information, and having speakers from all these different platforms.
Well, what was last year? Canva.
Yeah, Adobe, yeah.
Metrical.
I don't think we had
Adobe.
Metrical.
Metrical. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Canva, Metrical, the podcast people.
Then we had YouTube, who couldn't attend, but he done a video for it. Did you get the video?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The one from YouTube. Yeah. So it's mega valuable. Yeah. And that's why I'm not surprised, and I don't know what you're gonna do this year, because
you
last
think that
year
nearly
was
every
quite
marketing
big.
Department from every single company in Kent would attend? Because, like, really, I mean, I don't know about
with Richard. The first
people.
thing we left, and we were like, "How the hell? This is free event."
Yeah.
Because usually you go on events like that, and they all be either overpriced or either too pricey, and people wouldn't be able to go. But this was unbelievable, and it's free event.
And basically, what we do is cover our costs. So we cover our costs. We might have a few stands or a few sponsors, and some people might sponsor the breakfast and stuff like that, so people get a free breakfast. But for us, it's a really great marketing tool for our business and our brand locally, which is just great. As well, say to people, like, if you're not too sure about working with us just yet, come along and come to the event. Come and meet us.
And as well, you're doing lots of free events as well, I would say, the smaller ones.
We call them the free academies, where we do those. So we used to do them every quarter. But the one we had in January, we had last month, February, we had 76 people turn up, and people were like, "Oh, can't you do these more regular?" So we're bringing those back every other month.
This is the one that you said I didn't expect so many people, because usually they don't come. But how they not gonna come? There is even I didn't remember with someone recently we spoke and we mentioned your name. I was like, "Oh yeah, I know her. I heard about her. She's really good." And I'm like, "Wow, that's interesting." How obviously people are talking about, but.
Well, I think they said they used you for their social media campaign as well.
Amazing.
What about the speaking? Where did this come from? How did you start? I was
thrown into it, really. If you took me back to when I was at school, I would never have done speaking.
And then I just went to speak in front of NATO.
Right, yeah. Well, the Poland one was probably... I'm trying to think of my first ever talk. I can't remember my first ever. I remember my first international. That was Poland. I can't remember my first ever talk. But even I think what happened is that I went and done a talk, and I realised how powerful it was to build your credibility and your reputation, to stand up there and share knowledge and not be scared of sharing that knowledge, like, helping people and adding value. That they come up to me after and said, "Oh, can you help people do this?" And I was like, this is a great tool for a business for you to get up and present, show your thought leadership, share valuable content, and ultimately it's going to build your brand and can definitely build your your inquiry list, which is ultimately why I got the buzz for it. It's just great, and now you can't get me off the stage. I've done so much international. The thing about international, COVID, like, literally destroyed my international stuff, because it was like, I remember before COVID, I was going to do 4 continents. So I had Africa lined up, I had Indonesia lined up, I had South America, and then I was back over to Belfast.
And all this arranged through LinkedIn?
Well, this guy, who's had someone there, how do I meet him? This is for the United Bible Society. So they got in touch, they sell Bibles all in different languages all over the world. And he got in touch with me and he said, I want you to do they were doing a tour. And he goes, I want you to do a tour. And when COVID happened, it was like, it's not going to happen. I was like, oh, this was going to, like, you know, I've never been to Africa. Like, I've never been to Africa, and I'd love to go to Africa. But he said, but we're going to do it all online. So I had an interpreter, and we done it online, and it just wasn't the same. And I think COVID, you know, I'm still doing loads of stuff online for different countries. I feel that COVID, you know, really made Zoom come in place of some of those other costs.
But sometimes those interpersonal things are really powerful when you actually go there, isn't it?
When you go there, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you an experience quickly about what I had as well. This was just phenomenal. I was Mike Fountain. He might be watching. I'll make sure I tag him in. He's an amazing guy. For years and years ago, I met him. I would say about 15 years ago, maybe longer. He'll correct me. He invited me to his event over in Belfast, and I've gone over to Belfast, and I'm standing there checking into the hotel, and I had this guy behind me, and I thought, oh, it sounds American. Look round, and it's Jarek Robbins, Anthony Robbins' son. So, you know, Anthony Robbins, that type of stuff.
Oh, okay.
I know Tony Robbins.
Robbins,
is it the same
Tony,
guy?
yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's Tony Robbins' son. So as I turned around, I was like, oh, Jarek. Like, you know, and he goes, I'm speaking at the event as well. And I'll tag Jarek in, because I remember Jarek being there. It was absolutely brilliant. And then he said, you know, what are you doing this evening? And I said, well, I'm just going to check in and I'll go for some dinner. He goes, well, do you fancy catching up? I was like, yes, like, that would be amazing. Anyway, what happened is that I then, about 4 or 5 years later, Tim Kidd, that used to be at BNI, who's now with, what's the company he's now with? An Institute of Finance and someone up in Bromley. He invited me along to come to this gala dinner where Bill Clinton was speaking, Tony Robbins, Andy Harrington, all these great speakers. It was a charity event, and it was like £1,200 a ticket. But he had gifted tickets that he could give. And so I went along, and I remember seeing Tony Robbins. I was like, "There's Tony Robbins." And so I'll send you the photo of this one. I went up to Tony Robbins and I said, I've met Jarek. And he went, you've met Jarek? And I said, yeah. Anyway, so I got an amazing photo of Tony Robbins. And I messaged Jarek and I said, Jarek, I've just met your dad. And he said, oh, did you get any photos? I said, yeah. So I sent the photos over. But that was just an amazing moment that I'd met Tony Robbins. I mean, he's a really tall, great, like the aura around him is just amazing. But just, you know, meeting that person within the industry that he's in, just phenomenal. So I think speaking's given me some amazing opportunities to just meet some amazing people.
So basically you just start to share your knowledge, and this is how it builds up. People start to invite you, you put that speaker on your LinkedIn, and then the magic happen after that.
When you speak, a big tip is that lots of people would go in doing speaking and telling people all of the how to do stuff. So I have people come up to us, and I do those speaking, but I don't sell. I can't sell. Why am I not selling? And it's because they're giving too much of the how, whereas you need to give the why, and then your how is what you would sell. So speaking of, you know, I love speaking. I would do it every day. I'd be on stage every day.
That's why probably you're finding yourself much more comfortable as well on all the videos, vlogs, because if someone, honestly, you recently started your vlogs, I would say, but they're absolutely awesome. They look like so easy breezy, and sometimes I'm thinking, when you find Zoe, when you find the time to do it. But
starting that vlog was completely outside my comfort zone.
Really?
Yeah, because
it definitely looks natural.
They
Yeah,
look
really
so easy and flowing. Oh yeah, I'm having a coffee now, and then I'm gonna go work, and then I've been to this event. It's really, really cool.
I think it was because it was going more behind the scenes of my everyday life, rather than being a video saying, talk about this topic, and I would talk to the camera. This is actually like going behind the scenes of what I'm doing. It's showing my home.
A bit more you.
It's a bit more of like the detail of me. And I thought, why would people want to watch this, you know?
How did you find? Does people watch?
It's like,
Does people watch? How did you find it?
The first few that I've done, and I've really pushed out online, I don't want to bombard people too much with it. But when I put them out, people say, I've loved it, I want to see more of the husky, because we've got huskies. People just love it. And I've got something else that I want to work on, which come about last night when I was networking at a women in business event. And I've got 4 grandparents. I had 4 grandparents, absolutely amazing, where I call it a crossroads. My granddad's Irish, my nan's German, my other nan's Canadian, and my other granddad's East End.
Wow, that's a right variety, isn't it? That's amazing.
And I want to do like a documentary or a docu-series on a separate YouTube channel of going in their footsteps and going to all the different countries and just
find out something. That sounds really
sounds a
cool.
real good adventure. So Zoe, one of the things, so we after coming to your most recent event, so we signed up for Zoe Academy, which is basically giving us incredible insights into how to use social media and how to get the best out of it, which, I mean, we've done 1, 2.
And by the sounds of it, it's created a nice community because, some people I start to follow, they start to follow me. It's quite nice, the conversation that is going in the channel. I like it. Good. It's quite encouraging for everybody.
Yeah, it's a nice community.
So, for you, what gave you the idea to start it? Because that is really powerful, isn't it? It's an incredibly powerful tool.
We started the Growth Academy when COVID happened.
Okay.
So I would say like half of the business obviously is the agency and the other half is me going out doing training and speaking. But when COVID happened, obviously a lot of that had to stop. So there were so many small businesses that were struggling, thinking, how are we going to get ourselves out there and we can't network? So I'd done a 30-day challenge that got a lot of businesses in it. It was completely free. And for 30 days, I spent time with, it was around about over 500 people. If you look out on social, you'll probably still see some stuff of what happened back then. And I got all of these people in a group, and every day I gave them a task to really help build their visibility throughout COVID. And at the end of there, I then said, right, if you would like me to take you on the journey over the next year, come and join the Growth Academy. And that's what they did, and that's where it started from. Obviously, when COVID ended, lots of people got back to their normal stuff. But it was a great community, and I've now brought it back. So last year, we decided to really go full with it, as it's part of one of me and Gareth's personal goals is that eventually we want to travel, and I could take the academy with me. And then when I come back to the UK, I could do my events. And so the Growth Academy is a great opportunity for people to come together, not just to network, but to learn as well. So if some people think, I really want to do a story for this, they can go in and watch a video, or they can go and ask in the community, or they can go and jump on a live Q&A to ask how they do something. So,
which is what we did the other day, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, all the bits of information that you were sharing with each and individual person who was asking the question, it was, even if someone maybe thought this isn't going to be very relevant, but it was all relevant because everything just sort of
because everybody
pushes together.
are in the same the same boat with social media and difficulties there, and trying to beat the algorithms. And I hate, honestly, I hate this sentence. Follow the algorithm. You need to make this. You need. I just hate it.
I mean, one of the things.
Working with the algorithm is the important part. You can never beat it, but working with the algorithm and understanding it a little bit more. Not that they tell us exactly what it is, but the likes of Missouri on Instagram, who's head of Instagram, he always come out and say, what the algorithm is working with at the moment and how you can grow. So there's so many great resources out there to share.
I think in the beginning I was a bit, what is the right word? not warrior, but I was like, why someone will tell me what and how to do, why I can't do the things as I feel and I want to do. I'll do it in my time. I'll do it. Remember? And I was like, oh, because all this craziness, but probably looking through the eyes of people who are sharing even content that for me doesn't make any sense. There is for everybody, and you think like, why are you gonna tell me what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna do when I want to be obviously married? But since we met you, and obviously you, as I said, you explaining everything very nicely and easy to understand, and all the steps that you have to follow are not that big tick list, do this, do that. And I like how you said that because nowadays it's very popular to say, oh, don't use AI. Oh, if you use AI. The truth is that without AI, you will be absolutely stupid to do. But I like how you make, especially it's recently the new video that I know you're using it. And it's really nice, that the key points, because that's the truth. You can't just copy and paste, but you can use it as a tool that help you to...
That's definitely. Humanise it and put your own tone of voice and language into it. But use it as a tool to really help you in terms of saving time.
Exactly, because nowadays everything is...
But especially, I mean, we were talking
expensive.
earlier about managing time in terms of creating content. And one of the things that AI can do, because you can just input all the key things that you want it to produce. So it's all your ideas, and it's it's your creativity. But then you're thinking, how am I going to put that into words? And what it does is put it into words for you. Now, the only thing you've got to be very careful of, I mean, if you're in the UK, that you want to put in using UK English. And even if you do that, sometimes some of the spellings are still Americanized. So you have to be really careful.
Make
just
sure
to
you
check.
read your stuff.
And make sure you read your stuff, because otherwise you're going to have Zs in.
I did get a comment on LinkedIn to say, well, Grammarly is an AI tool as well, but Grammarly is great in looking at the grammar that you've used and saying, do you want it to be in UK language or US language?
Is Grammarly an app that you download, or it's
on the internet? If you go Grammarly.com, and if you actually put the extension into Chrome, every website that you use where you're typing stuff in, it'll pick you up.
Wow,
it's really good.
It's quite useful.
Yeah, it's really useful.
It's really good.
But it's interesting because one of the things that I was thinking, and it's funny, I picked up yesterday, because I was reading a news article on the BBC News app.
Yeah, you said on my post.
Yeah, and I was shocked because, like you said about, if it's AI, it's nearly always got hyphens. And I was reading something on the BBC News app the other day, and there was hyphens all the way through. I thought, they're using Copilot or they're using ChatGPT to write their news articles. Really?
And this is really new as well with ChatGPT, because it wasn't using the hyphens before. But then someone did comment on my post and say it's because lots of people do use the hyphens, and that's what ChatGPT's picked up.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which was really interesting.
Because they don't know how to use a comma or a colon or a semicolon.
What are the plans for this year, the next goals?
There's lots personally that I'm doing. We've just really systemised the agency and got an amazing team on there. So I'm really happy with that side of the business. The training side of the business, obviously, I'm working with individual clients, but also the Growth Academy I'm really striving to build and working towards. And then just my speaking. Obviously, I love speaking.
To start a bit more international again, probably.
I'd love to get out to do more international stuff. And I have got international as in terms of international, but it's all on Zoom.
You just want to be there. Again, to be there, because it's a different vibe, as we said, too. After having so busy time, something that I really like, honestly, when we arranged the podcast, you said Saturday and Sunday you don't do work.
Yes. I'm disappointed.
Tell me about that, because this is a really good one. Yeah, important.
So Mondays and Fridays are my Mondays are my client days, and Fridays are my personal brand days. So on a Monday, I'll work with the clients in the agency in terms of strategic plans and any client meetings. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll do talks and trainings. Friday are my personal brand days. Then the weekend, although people always say, that's still work, I'll work on my personal brand. I'll learn, I'll watch YouTube videos that I've lined up. I'll listen to podcasts, and it's my time of what I have to do with no interruptions and having to go to a meeting or do anything like that. And I take time out with the Huskies, who are like my children, and time again with the family. And I ultimately try not to work on a weekend.
Okay, so this is your time to relax, to recharge, and to be ready for the Monday, because this is usually what we ask people, how they do recharge, because everybody needs to find that time for them, and you obviously got a really good, I would say, discipline.
Well, I think it's particularly important, particularly as you're working as a husband and wife team as well, that it's that you have that sort of moment where you switch from work into being a couple. In a marriage.
Gareth's really good at that, but I'm not. Gareth, he has his switch off, he either does his gaming, or, you know, if we sit down for dinner, 9 times out of 10 we're talking about, you know, work, but it's good work.
Yeah, but it looks like your work is, you can see you're always smiling about it. You love what you do, so it's not like that type of work that is annoying. It's just your life. At the end of the day, it's your life, it's your business, it's your everything, it's your own.
And I really do enjoy it.
And it's personal development as well, isn't it? That's the thing. Every day it's personal development. So every day it's empowering, it strengthens you, it gives you a buzz. And like you think, well, that really works. And there are always going to be things where you're disappointed, but that's normal life. You know, you can't, there's no way that it can be everything's perfect. But out of every frustration and every difficulty, it's another opportunity to build up to the next level, isn't it? And that's the thing, makes all the difference.
I love learning. I think it's what helps us grow, and, you know, what helps us develop, and
never stop.
My weekend stuff.
Is there one habit that you've got that you would like to challenge our guests?
Oh, I think for me it's the CPD thing that I mentioned about earlier, the continuous professional development. So a habit that I continued on from my mortgage broking days was that I would always make sure that each week I spend at least an hour to check out what's new in social media world, which is so important. So I would challenge the guests in whatever industry they're in to keep up to date with what's happening in their industry, and just spend that hour each week to really tune into that.
And to keep that track. I started with my apprenticeship, but I didn't go too far, unfortunately. I mean, I had a task I needed to do. And I was thinking that I need to go back probably because it's good. It's after some time, but again, time. Obviously, I need to schedule everything a bit better. I need to work on the schedule.
I think that's what we've really learned from today about planning. And that's the key. Planning all these different things, particularly obviously with the social media strategy. I think that's a big takeout, I think, for everyone today. Like from what you said, is if we can plan what we're going to do and have a structure to it, that's a big difference, isn't it, to what we do? But that applies to every aspect of our life. Better planning.
I also have like a month. So you remember at school when you used to get, I don't know if you have this, but we have like a 2-week timetable of lessons. I still do that in terms of knowing what I do each week, because that keeps me on track with what I'm doing. So I know that on Monday I'm working with clients, and on Friday I'm doing personal brand, and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, if I have something come through, I know where it needs to go. But also in the terms of Monday and a Friday, I'm planning out that day and what that looks like and what I can see.
And then it's much easier, isn't it?
So much easier,
Yeah, and if anyone needs help or is looking for help with social media, Zoe is your person, and you can find her, as we said, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, everywhere. And thank you very much. It was great. Again, we learned from you, but we're not going to stop because,
Zoe, thank you very much. Yeah, that's great. So everyone, thank you very much for watching us today. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you've been watching on YouTube, please do give us a like. We'd really appreciate that. And please do subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching on Spotify, please do give us a follow. We hope you have a really great day, and we'll see you again soon for our next exciting episode. Take care. Bye-bye.